Welcome back, YouTubers, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Random Rai. Today, we will be unboxing and reviewing the latest Ichiban Kuji line called Dragonball vs. Omnibus. This line released on 14 October and consists of 7 total prizes: A. MUI Son Goku, B. Mass Release Extra Jiren, C. Super Saiyan Gogeta, D. King Cluster Broly, E. Super Saiyan 3 Son Goku, F. Kid Buu, and finally, the extremely sought after last prize, Vegeta Oozaru. Now let's get these bad boys unboxed so we can take a closer look. This is the prize A MUI Goku. What I'm going to do is show you guys a comparison with the Ultimate Variations, which is that one, and the Maximatic, which is that one. So it's actually, if you look at it really closely, there's a lot of significance in the detail. The body is painted differently, so is the pants. Obviously the hair is the same color, but this is a different pose, which is a good thing. So at least they didn't make him basically the same thing out of the same mold. But let's take a closer look right here. And we'll spin him around. So let me see, actually. So he's actually pretty detailed when it comes to the shading on his body, and the pants, though there's not too much shading. I'm actually not sure if it's more so the light, but I need to get one of those automatic turntables. Just haven't found one yet. But yeah, this thing is it's actually a really nice figure, so don't sleep on this one. It's a good collection to have, especially if you're Ultra Instinct fan. His face is done pretty well. So is the hair. But his shading on his muscles is pretty nice. This figure is like, it's a pretty heavy figure. Here goes the pants. And there's a stand for it. But let me see. There's the watermark on the right boot. And as you can see, he stands up. Let me see. Let me scoot it back. But he stands up on his own, without the foot stand. A lot of people like to know that. But that's him. All right, now what we got here is prize B, the Mass Release Extra Jiren. And as you can see, he's a big boy. I've had some comments from a few people that said, you know, because of the price he was when he came out, that they didn't think that it was really worth the price. But I'm gonna put one of the larger figures up next to him, and then you guys can kind of see for yourselves. But I'm glad they made a large Jiren figure. And if you can, well, let's see, let's take the stand off. You can see he stands by himself. Alright, so we'll get him a little bit closer to the camera, but he's got some mild shading on his body. But the muscle tone that they made with the veins here, you look at his face really closely. They did like the kind of like the battle damage, and they caught his facial expressions pretty nicely. You know, the veins on his head. And for his pants, it's kind of like it's a little bit detailed, but it's more of a solid gray. And you can see there's some kind of darker shading in the crevices. And then let's see, Jiren's watermark. Let me find it real quick. All right, so Jiren's watermark is gonna be right there on his left leg. So we'll move this down real quick. Let's stand him up. And what we'll do is we'll get the Ultimate Variations Broly and put him right next to him. You can see the size comparison. The Broly is obviously larger, but Jiren's kind of slouching down, and Broly's a little bit bigger than him. So I'll say taller, but if you see how Jiren's kind of crouching at the knees and his head's bent over, if he was standing up straight, I'd be willing to bet that they're basically the same size. So we'll move him for now. And we'll measure him. And Jiren is about 10 inches. All right, next what we have is prize C. All right. This is the Super Saiyan Gogeta. And what I'm gonna do with this guy is I'm gonna take the Ultimate Variations Gogeta and I'm gonna put him right next to him so that you guys can see how very similar these two figures are. Let's turn it around here. Check it out. They are basically identical, front and back. The only real difference is the paint scheme. So for this one, they basically took the mold and they just repainted it. So that's the Ultimate Variations Gogeta. Let me take a look at him. But don't get me wrong, this is still one of my favorite Gogetas. The major difference here is that if you look at his vest here, it's shiny. Everything on him is actually pretty shiny, even his shoes. But the paint's still done really nicely. And the smug look is good for the facial expression. Let me pull off the stand here, and his watermark is going to be on his right back thigh. But I'll show you here. He stands just fine on his own without this stand. And we will take the tape measure and see how tall he is. And Gogeta is going to be about 9.5 inches as well. So, good size. Alright, up next, I had to move it back a little bit because he's so tall. But we have Prize D, Broly. Now, this is another one that they just used the same mold again, basically. I'm going to show you here in a minute. But the only difference is I think the way the head is tilted and the way the right hand is placed. So I'll give you two examples. And the first one is going to be Ultimate Variations. The second one is going to be the King Cluster Last Prize. Alright, so let me just move this. There we go. Okay, so the problem that I have with this, and I love these figures. Broly is always gigantic. He's always like, he's heavy, so you feel like he's worth it. But I just wish, and if you look at the Ultimate Variations and the Omnibus, the two are basically the same. They're just different shading, and the hand is placed differently, so there's really not much difference. But what I will say, and it's kind of in between, is this is basically the plain one, and then the LP Last Prize is like the fancy, real shiny one. So the Omnibus is kind of in the middle of those two. So I'm gonna take these two, put them back down so that we can take a look real quick. But his facial features are always done well. His muscle tone is always amazing, and I just wish they would have given him some more character. But his shading is nice. They gave him a slight shine, or sheen, if you will, on his bot ear, and his pants are almost like a two-tone. They're shiny as well, but it's like a pearl shine, if you can see that. And then even his boots have somewhat of a shine, if you can see that. Yeah, but let me see. His watermark is right here on the back of his right thigh, and he can obviously stand up on his own, just like all the other ones. So there you go, no issue standing up there. And then we will take a tape measure. Scoot him back just a little bit. Measure him out. And he is at about 13.5 inches. So Broly is massive. Again, as always. Alright, so what we have now is the SS3 Son Goku. And this one is one of the fan favorites as well. He's not really fancy, but he's really kind of just done just right. The feedback that I get a lot about these SS3s is that the hair look like a bunch of bananas. I mean, I agree, but so comes with a stand as well, and he actually comes with a hair stand too. So in addition to his foot stand, he has a hair stand that you can put back here and kind of just prop him up so he doesn't fall over. You know, I don't need to use him, but I guess if you have him on some type of like uneven surface, you can see how this would come in kind of handy. I'm just gonna put that off to the side right now, but I'll pull him closer so you can see his face. He's got green eyes. His outfit in this one is actually pretty plain and simple. It's a little bit of shading, not too much. And same thing with his muscle tone. It's nice, but there's not any like over shading or anything. The hair is kind of like a lighter yellow at the ends. And the watermark is right there on his right boot. The bottom of his boots. But other than that, that's really it for him. It's a nice figure. But he's I wouldn't say he's my favorite out of the line, but he's definitely, for me, he was a must-have. And what I'll do is take this Figure Arts 0EX, put him right there, and also this Dragon Ball World SS3, so that you can look at the size comparison. All three of them are on stands right now. And the Figure Arts is definitely my favorite out of all of them. But I do have the Grandista SS3 coming in soon, the Grandista Nero. My boy Miguel Antunes, shout outs Miguel, he hooked me up and basically he found one in a local shop and he had one pre-ordered, so he just let me take over his pre-order, which is awesome, so I can't wait for that. So thank you again, Miguel, for being awesome. And let's see. What we'll do with him is measure him as well while he's on the stand. Let's flip him around so that we can see him straight here. And he is about 10.5 to 11 inches, pretty close to 11 inches. And he also doesn't need his stand, not even his foot stand. He stands up pretty well, which is good because typically on SS3s, his hair causes him to fall back, but he doesn't have the foot stand or the hair stand, but we have the option to use all of them if we want to. So, all right, now we have one of the absolute favorites, Kid Buu. And he's a pretty small figure, but it's Kid Buu, he's supposed to be small anyways. So let me get something to compare him to, and this is the Strong Chains Krillin. So they're basically the same size, Kid Buu and Krillin. The only difference is his little tail antenna thing on his head. But I mean, in comparison, they're basically the same size. And that's the only thing that I really had to compare him to. But he is, he's the smallest out of the line, but rightfully so. I've been asked quite a bit for this guy before the line even came out, because they don't make many Kid Buu figures. So here we go. I think his face, like down to the teeth and the eyes, were probably the best done out of this entire line. One thing that I do see though is just like the review that I did on the strong chains, the Krillin, the head, you can see where the separation is. I wish they would have kind of blended that a little bit better, but you know, can't really complain that much. But his shading, the pink shading is actually really nice on this figure. Front and back. You see the dots real close. And then the pants are pretty plain gray. And then you saw that he stood well with his foot stand, but here's the watermark on the back of the right boot, or back of the right cuff. And there's your little brown shoes. The bottom are just kind of flat. His pose is awesome too. This is from the old school Dragon Ball episodes. So, well, you see him here without the stand. He stands. This thing is a little bit off, but I mean, he stands without the stand. If he's on an absolute flat surface, then it would be a lot better. And we'll put this stand on just in case, but we'll go ahead and measure him. And he is all the way to the top of the tail, about 7.5 to 8 inches. So definitely the smallest out of all of them. So that's Kid Buu. This is what everybody has been asking me for, and you can even see I can't fit him in the frame, so I'm gonna have to adjust this camera a bit. There we go. So you guys can see him. So Vegeta Oozaru, the last prize, he is pretty massive. We'll spin him around so you guys can see him, and then we'll do a close-up still. But I want you guys to see how this guy looks all the way around. His outfit is nice on this one, so he's got a lot of battle damage on this one, which is good because, you know, it makes it look a little more realistic. The detail is a lot better. It's a little closer to the GT version. I mean, I'm not a huge GT fan, but I do like the Oozaru from the GT. So, speaking of, what I'll do is I'm gonna grab a couple of the other Oozarus so we can compare the size. There's that one, the GT, and then we got the Great Ape, and then up behind it we have the Genki Dama. I'll take this off so you can see the size. But yeah, I mean, look, those boys are huge. You can't even really fit them in the frame. Nice. So yeah, they are. Whoa, he almost fell over. These boys are all huge. And the difference is, so his arms are down and he is also crouched quite a bit.
So I think that if he was kind of standing up straight more and his arms were up in the air like these other ones, I mean, he'd basically be the same size. But I don't think anybody can be upset with the size of this guy. So what we'll do is get a little bit closer so you guys can see still. But yeah, man, if you look at his face, he's got a lot of detail in his face. He's got veins, and his teeth are done really nicely. It's freaking awesome. Yeah, there's like a lot of grooves and everything. But if you see his armor, like I was talking about, there's a lot of battle damage in it. And instead of having a lot of shading, it's actually, the colors are just like really solid colors. One thing that I did notice, I'll show you guys, is his feet are kind of posable and movable so that you can adjust him. We'll turn him around. His tail was a lot harder to get in than the other ones, but that's good though, so I know that the tail's not going to be falling off and stuff. And then for the Oozaru, the watermark is going to be on the bottom of the boot. So yeah, you just gotta, like I said, you can adjust his feet to where you want to kind of set him. And he did come with a stand that you put like right under his butt over here. There you go. Kind of like at the crease of his butt. This is weird, but it's like the golden Oozaru too. They both have that little stand, but you don't need them honestly at all, because he can stand on his feet, and his tail props him up like a tripod. So yeah, man, that thing, last prize Oozaru, that's the one that you want. One that everybody wants to get. And so the thing is with this Oozaru and the golden one, they both come in a bag. Yeah, they both come in a bag, and it has the black base. This one doesn't have the words in the front like the yellow one where it says the greatest Saiyan, but you know, right here it has the last prize writing. So that's how he looks in the bag. Anyway, right. So let's measure him real quick before we wrap things up. And he is about 13 inches. So about 12 and a half, 13 inches. So he's about the size of Brawly, minus the hair. Alright guys, so that was my review of the Dragon Ball vs. Omnibus Ichiban Kuji line that was released on October 15th, 2020. I want to thank you guys for jumping on and watching. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And let me know if you want me to make some more videos. If you have any questions, please leave them down at the bottom and I will get to them as soon as possible. Thank you guys again. Thank you for your support as always. Zoltan Smash Mob out.